The tournament continues with intense battles. In one match, a terrified candidate launches sharp stones, but K charges forward, easily evading them. He closes the distance instantly and delivers a powerful punch, sending the magic user flying. The announcer declares him the winner. K's winning streak continues as he dominates violently, slamming another opponent and knocking out a third. High above, the blonde examiner watches with interest, declaring that K is the standout applicant. He excitedly notes that K is the first ever black holder and insists they must recruit him immediately before rumors spread. Suddenly, heavy footsteps approach, and a voice casually remarks that it looks like a tough day. The blonde examiner turns in surprise to see the red-haired man and blue-haired woman from the explosion site. The examiner asks why team leader Red is here, but the man waves his hand, claiming they are just passing by. They briefly discuss the investigation into the large creature incident. The Red leader sigh, admitting there has been no progress. He then asks if there are any worthy candidates. The examiner mentions the young lady from the Tien family and an extremely unique candidate. Suddenly, the Red leader's eyes widen as he senses something. He looks into the arena and spots K, immediately noticing the black energy. As the examiner praises K, the Red leader stares silently at the boy. The blue-haired woman whispers to her leader, asking if that kid is connected to their investigation. The Red leader confirms it is likely him. Internally, the Red leader concludes that a new color appearing right after the incident in the Shadow District is too big of a coincidence to ignore. He decides to keep a close watch on K for now. Unaware he is being observed, K looks at his clenched fist, smoking with dark energy. He is thrilled by his incredible power, realizing that becoming a pioneer is finally possible. However, he recalls the physical toll the transformation took and warns himself to be careful. He knows that if he overuses this power and loses his color mid-fight, he will be defenseless. A massive surge of freezing energy erupts from the arena, creating a wall of ice. Ellie Cayenne stands calmly amidst the cold mist. The announcer declares number 17 the winner, revealing she has encased her opponent in a solid block of ice. The spectators, including K, watch in awe, commenting that the Tien family's color is always impressive. As Ellie walks down the stairs, K watches her, wondering how anyone could defeat such overwhelming magic. Suddenly, Ellie stops as she passes K, staring directly at him with a sharp, curious gaze. Her blue eyes narrow suspiciously as she scrutinizes him. Without a word, she turns and continues walking, leaving K confused. The announcer says, "The first exam has concluded." The blonde examiner stands on the podium and thanks everyone for their hard work. He explains that since they are behind schedule, they will move straight to the next test. He instructs the failed candidates to leave, and they walk away dejectedly. The blonde examiner begins to announce the next test, but is interrupted by a hand on his shoulder. The red-haired man steps forward with a confident smile, taking over. He looks at the surviving candidates and declares that the second exam will be led personally by him. The candidates look up in shock, realizing who is standing before them. Colorist Red. He is one of the Shining City's strongest colorists, famous for retaking the Black Lands. However, the candidates are terrified, recalling rumors that his destructive power is so intense that even allies hesitate to work with him, and that when he is in charge of an exam, no one ever passes. The blonde examiner looks worriedly at colorist Red, asking if he is sure, warning that the captain will scold him for changing the exam format. Red laughs it off, stating he gets nagged every day anyway. He announces that the test is simple and tells the crowd to just endure as his body erupts in massive flames. A giant wave of fire surges toward the terrified applicants, forming individual spherical barriers around each person, trapping them. The candidates panic as they are enveloped in intense heat. Red explains that he has recreated the environment of a certain region, noting it will get pretty hot. He illustrates that the Black Lands are full of extreme environments where humans can barely survive. He belittles the current test, claiming this heat is nothing more than a warm stove. With a serious expression, Red reiterates that if they endure, they pass. However, his eyes narrow coldly as he adds that anyone unable to withstand this heat never had the qualification to become a pioneer. Inside the fire spheres, the candidates are suffering. One man realizes he cannot scratch the barrier. While others scream in agony, they wonder in terror what kind of hellish place the Black Lands must be if this is considered mild. Watching from the side, the blonde examiner notes that despite rumors, Red's skills haven't dulled. He marvels at Red's incredible control, observing how he instantly covered so many people. He acknowledges that this power is what one expects from someone at the peak. Suddenly, a loud cracking sound cuts through the air. Red and his assistant look over as one of the fire barriers turns blue and fractures. A massive surge of ice energy explodes outward, shattering the fire sphere. Amidst the falling shards of ice, Ellie Keon stands tall, having broken free. Red looks at her, admitting that this is pretty good. He reflects that while the Cayenne family's power is a natural counter to fire, his own power is usually strong enough to overwhelm that advantage. Staring at the young woman, Red concludes she might actually deserve to be called a real prodigy. Red wonders about the other candidate they were interested in. Inside his fire sphere, Kay appears to be standing still. Red observes him, noting that unlike the girl, this boy isn't breaking through. He admits he didn't expect much from him. However, inside the barrier, Kay is panicking, screaming internally that he is in big trouble. He realizes he used too much of his color during the fight with the Gale sword. He looks at his hand in horror, noticing his black energy is leaking out and draining faster in the heat. Kay imagines a terrifying future where his power runs out. He knows if he is revealed to be colorless, he will likely be experimented on. Desperate, he frantically looks for a solution, wondering if he can absorb something to replenish his energy. He stares at the wall of intense fire. A realization hits him. Since the barrier is made of a color ability, he wonders if he can absorb it. He looks at his hand, admitting he doesn't know the limits of his absorption power. Deciding he has no time to think, he resolves to find out. He reaches out and touches the swirling wall of fire. Immediately, a violent reaction occurs, and Kay is shocked that direct absorption is working. The fire barrier begins to warp and twist, drawing the attention of nearby candidates. A massive vortex of black energy erupts from Kay, sucking the red flames into his hand. From the podium, Red and the blonde examiner stare down, stunned and unable to comprehend what they are seeing. Red breaks into a nervous sweat, forcing a smile as he remarks they have found a real lunatic. In the arena, Kay stands amidst the dissipating energy, looking terrifyingly powerful with red and black aura swirling around his hands. The entire arena falls into a heavy silence. However, internally, Kay is panicking again. He forces a smile, thinking this wasn't supposed to happen. He realizes with regret that he has accidentally stood out way too much. Ellie Cayenne stands frozen, questioning if she is hallucinating. As she stares at the young man enveloped in dark energy, she looks at Kay and wonders if black is even a color a human can possess. Recognizing this is something unprecedented, a sense of anxiety washes over her as she watches him. Memories of the pressure to be the best flash through her mind. She is forced to admit that Kay is undeniably strong. She realizes that even with her full power, she could not guarantee a win. As Kay walks away, Ellie thinks that there is something about him that cannot be explained by strength alone, asking herself what he actually is. She quickly shakes her head, trying to dismiss the disturbing thoughts. Colorist Red approaches Kay and casually wraps an arm around his shoulder, telling him, "Next time won't be like this." Red smiles, remarking that the black ability to suck everything in was wild, and he cannot hold back his curiosity. He guides Kay away, suggesting they have a private conversation to protect Kay's privacy while he satisfies his own questions. Kay, sweating nervously, asks about the exam status. Red assures him that with a power level like that, he obviously passes. Kay is stunned, realizing drawing so much attention worked in his favor. He is overcome with emotion, thinking he has finally achieved his dream of becoming a pioneer. Suddenly, the blonde examiner yells at Red for acting on his own. Red laughs it off, asking his colleague to overlook it, just this once. The examiner sighs and announces announces that despite the interruption, the exam will continue. He clarifies that number 17 Ellie has passed because she broke the barrier, but the other candidates will undergo an additional test. Ellie ignores the announcement, her gaze fixed on the dark tunnel where Red is leading Kay away. The scene shifts to an industrial setting. Red stands outside a car with Kay while the blue-haired investigator sits in the driver's seat. Red tells her to wait. Kay looks at his surroundings and his expression turns to pure shock. He stares at a massive landscape of rubble and destruction, realizing with horror that Red has brought him back to the exact location where he fell into the ink waste. Colorist Red looks over the devastated ruins, remarking that it is an ugly sight. He explains that a major incident occurred here, causing Kay to freeze. Red recounts that for the first time in history, 2 pioneers were found completely drained and colorless. He adds that eyewitnesses saw a massive creature at the site. Red turns sharply toward Kay, pointing out the suspicious timing. He notes that shortly after that creature appeared, Kay emerged as the first person to possess the color black, calling it a coincidence. His eyes glowing, Red analyzes Kay's power, describing it as an ability that absorbs other colors. Kay sweats nervously as Red stares him down, declaring, "This is a completely foreign ability." Internally, Kay panics, realizing Red suspected the connection from the start. He frantically wonders if he can run, but looking at the man's overwhelming aura, he realizes it is impossible to escape from a hero. Suddenly, Red laughs, breaking the tension. He waves his hand, admitting he was just testing Kay, but complains Kay's honest reaction took the fun out of it. Kay looks at him in confusion. Red clarifies that while his official job is to investigate the incident, he is personally more interested in Kay's unique ability. Red explains that color powers normally cannot mix at all. However, he observes that Kay's ability seems to ignore those rules. He recalls the second exam, pointing out that Kay clearly couldn't control his power. Then Kay stammers, trying to explain, but Red interrupts him. The colorist's body begins to glow with red energy, and he states that they need to run a test. Kay looks at him confused. Red extends his hand, explaining that he needs to understand how the ability works. He smiles confidently, challenging Kay to try absorbing his energy now. Kay panics and tries to refuse, warning Red it is too dangerous. Red simply laughs, telling the rookie he is far too early to be worrying about someone of his level. Kay falls silent, looking intense and nervous as Red commands him to stop talking and just try it. Black symbolizes the Black Lance, an ominous force that devours everything. Red thinks that leaving such a dangerous ability unchecked is unacceptable because it could shake the foundation of the Shining City. A dark secret crosses his mind. People do not know it yet, but humanoid creatures exist. He silently warns Kay that if he ever faces them or worse becomes one, the colorist might have to eliminate him. Kay sigh, sensing the terrifying pressure radiating from Red. Despite the intimidation, Kay agrees to the test. He grabs Red's wrist, nervously, asking for confirmation that if anything goes wrong, it won't be his fault. While dark energy rises from his body, the moment they touch, a shock wave of energy distorts the air. Kay gasps as red energy violently surges into his arm, contrasting with his own black aura. He realizes he has made a mistake. A massive explosion of fire erupts from the contact point, causing Kay to scream in agony. Inside the inferno, he shouts for Red to stop, admitting he cannot control the power and that it feels like molten lava is boiling inside him. In his vision, Red appears as a towering godlike silhouette of pure fire, reinforcing why he is a hero. Red stands calmly within the flames, observing. He notes that Kay's black energy is sucking in his power without rest, acting as if it is starving. He realizes that because Kay's power is immature, strong individuals can resist the absorption, but this ability would be instantly fatal to most ordinary people. As the flames swirl, Red's eyes narrow with deeper curiosity. He thinks what they saw during the exam cannot be the full extent of the ability. He decides he wants to know not just how Kay absorbs colors, but how those absorbed colors are used. The situation escalates as the energy between the two violently reacts. Red watches as the black energy from Kay's arm begins to warp and spike, mixing with the red aura. Suddenly, a massive explosion of red and black energy bursts outward. Red is pushed back by the blast. He stares in shock at the figure emerging from the smoke. K has partially transformed. The right side of his body is now encased in a jagged demonic armor of solidified red and black energy. Red grits his teeth, realizing this form is ominously familiar. As he looks at the monstrous clawed hand and glowing eye, Red admits to himself that he would believe he was looking at a creature. The resemblance confirms his suspicions, and he realizes with certainty that K was behind the incident where the other pioneers lost their colors. K struggles to maintain consciousness. Red decides that his priority is safety and resolves to put out the fire before K goes on a rampage. He summons a ball of flame, preparing to subdue K by force. However, K lets out a low growl, causing Red to pause as the boy seems to be fighting something else. The scene shifts to K's internal perspective, a pitch-black void filled with demanding red text. The voices of the power scream at him, demanding intense color and urging him to bring more. K gasps in the real world, distressed by these intrusive voices. The voices continue to tempt him, telling him it is wasteful to hold back and urging him to take it. K mentally screams at the voices to shut up and stay still. With fierce determination, K's visible eye glows red. He rejects the temptation, ordering the power to shut up and stay crushed as he exerts his will over the chaotic energy. A shock wave blasts outward as he forcibly compresses the energy back down. The jagged armor dissipates, leaving Red with a look of genuine surprise. K is left panting heavily from the exertion. Red looks at him impressed and stunned, asking if the rookie actually managed to suppress that overwhelming power on his own. K is left panting, his heart racing. He thinks it is insane that he survived and frantically wonders why he went berserk. He glances up nervously, terrified he lost control in front of a colorist. Knowing he needs to understand his ability, he hesitantly approaches the older man. Red, however, looks delighted. He admits he was caught off guard because the power K absorbed was stronger than he expected, but he grins and declares the experiment a success because it was fun. He tells K that if he wants to achieve anything, he has to be willing to take risks. Red decides that is enough for the test, but then pauses, saying there is one more thing. He reminds K that he is the investigator assigned to the destruction incident at this very spot, and his duty is to find the culprit. With a calm but threatening smile, he points out that the person in front of him looks like a perfect suspect. K freezes, his face pale with panic. Red explains the gravity of the situation. He recalls how witnesses saw a massive shadow creature, warning K that more people are interested in this case than he thinks. He argues that once rumors about K's black ability spread, it will be easy for authorities to pin the blame on him. He gestures to the ruined industrial district, noting the damages will cost hundreds of millions. He adds that if the city leadership decides K is too dangerous, he could be banished or turned into a lab rat. K grits his teeth in frustration. Realizing he is trapped, he knows there is no way to prove his innocence. Suddenly, Red offers a lifeline. He suggests that if K agrees to come under his command, he might be able to do something. Without a second of hesitation, K bows at a 90-degree angle, loudly shouting that he puts himself in Red's care. Red tells him to listen to the full condition first. He clarifies he won't fix everything for free. In exchange, K will have to grant him a few favors. He asks if K thinks he can handle that. K forces a desperate, trembling smile. Internally, he screams that anything is better than owing millions or becoming a science experiment. He loudly agrees, promising to do absolutely anything Red needs. In the desolate wasteland, a small creature trembles in fear just moments before a massive wheel slams down, narrowly missing it as a heavy vehicle roars past. A large armored transport truck drives through the foggy, rugged terrain of the Blacklands. Inside, K looks out the window, thinking this is his first time traveling this far out and wondering if this is his first real step as a pioneer. Suddenly, his thoughts are interrupted by Gale, a green-haired man who glares at him, calling him black-haired one. Gale rudely tells K he is being distracting and orders him to shut up, though K hasn't said a word. K looks at him with a confused expression. K sits awkwardly in the transport bay. He thinks starting as a pioneer pioneer immediately was what he wanted, but the atmosphere is tense. He glances at the furious Gale and the silent Ellie Cyan, questioning if being on the same team is the right move. A flashback reveals a conversation from the day before. Red asks a surprised K if he is ready to join the exploration, explaining he needs him to go to a specific spot in the uncharted area. Seeing K's nervous expression, Red laughs and tells him not to worry. Red shows K a map, assuring him he won't be alone. He explains that new recruits who pass the exam will also be deployed to the area and that the official roadmap will be announced soon. K just needs to be at the location on time. Back in the present, K looks at his teammates, noting they were already on the truck. It is revealed that because Red's interference compromised the previous exam, the participants were given another chance. Many skilled individuals, including Gale, passed strict additional tests. Meanwhile, Ellie Cyan, the top-ranked rookie, joined Red's team at her own specific request. Gale stares at K with intense resentment, unable to believe he was humiliated by a fool. He thinks back to their fight, convinced he only lost because he let his guard down for a moment and vows it won't happen again. He threatens K, warning him to be ready once the exploration ends. He mutters that if Raven hadn't been behind him, K would already be dead. Ellie Cyan interrupts coldly, telling Gale to stop talking, mocking him that he would probably fall in one hit again. Gale turns to her in fury, asking what she just said. Ellie dismisses him, stating that Gale is no match for K. K looks at Ellie with surprise and hope, thinking maybe she is someone he can relate to. However, Ellie turns her cold gaze to K, confusing him by mentioning a past agreement they supposedly made. She glares at him, stating that the loser needs to stay quiet and follow orders, leaving K bewildered. K stands awkwardly between the two hostile pioneers, feeling the pressure. He sighs, realizing the team dynamic will be difficult to manage. The scene shifts as the transport vehicle moves across the dark waters of the wasteland towards a distant facility. The vehicle arrives at a bustling loading dock with workers moving supplies. The group disembarks. K, Ellie, Gale, and the other recruits walk out into the forward base for the Dawn Pioneering Corps. K is in awe of the high level of activity, noting the S-rank Corps' exceptional supplies, something he didn't realize when he ventured into the Blacklands alone. Suddenly, a finger pokes K's cheek, startling him. He turns to see a smiling Marie, who cheerfully explains that since this is his first mission, she had to come along to support him. Mari opens her jacket, revealing Nero has tagged along. K holds the black cat, thanking Mari for taking care of him. She smiles warmly, saying Nero is family. She explains she got a great opportunity to join the exploration team as support staff, stating her skills are useful here. A loudspeaker announces it is assembly time. The crowd of pioneers stands in the gray wasteland as the announcement continues that they will soon enter the Blacklands. K hands Nero over to Mari, telling her to take care of him. Mari warns him not to do anything dangerous, and he smiles, telling her he will see her later. Mari hugs Nero, but the cat suddenly leaps out of her arms, startling her. She shouts Nero's name as the cat runs toward K and sinks into the shadow on the ground. Mari's eyes widen in shock at this unnatural movement. She stammers, trying to call out to K, confused. The group arrives at a dark, fortified cave entrance. At the front, a woman with bright orange hair and a white coat shouts for everyone to prepare, announcing a new recruit is about to enter the Blacklands. She yells that safety is the top priority. She warns that reconnaissance has reported unidentified dangerous creatures in Area 21, a very dangerous zone where an A-rank creature's body was found. Suddenly, a male pioneer runs up to the orange-haired woman, calling her Arancia. He nervously reports that the red team leader has brought the new recruits, but they have left their formation without permission. Arancia's eyes widen in shock, and she asks if it's true. The messenger confirms it, and Arancia sighs that guy is causing trouble again. The group secretly enters a dark canyon, moving away from the main army. Colorist Red reaches his hand into the shadows, leading the way. The small squad, consisting of K, Gale, Ellie, and and Red separates from the formation. K nervously asks the team leader if this is okay, pointing out that the main team is heading in a different direction. Red confirms that their destination is different. K looks back at Gale and Ellie, worried because the squad is all new recruits. Gale suddenly snaps, demanding to know why he and Ellie had to follow, shouting that he heard Red only intended to take K, and he feels insulted. Red smiles, his red aura flaring. He explains that his personal guidance isn't something just anyone can receive, so it wouldn't be fair if K was the only one to benefit. He assures the angry Gale that while he won't spoon-feed them, he also won't let them get seriously hurt. He cuts the conversation short, ordering them to move out. K's eyes widen as they encounter enemies. Deep inside a cavern, the group is surrounded by shadow creatures. While Red holds a lantern, K, Gale, and Ellie engage in a chaotic melee. A massive wolf-like beast lunges out of the darkness. Ellie Cayenne reacts instantly, her blue energy sword piercing through the creature's body. She lands gracefully, realizing this is the reality of the Black Lands. Surrounded by glowing eyes, she notes the suffocating environment and constant waves of monsters. Acknowledging it's different from training, she grips her sword, resolving to manage her strength carefully. Ellie glances over her shoulder, thinking she needs to move more efficiently. She looks at Kay and tells herself she doesn't want to fall behind him. Meanwhile, Kay grips a shadow creature by the neck and brutally crushes it with his bare hand. Ellie Cayenne looks at Kay with total shock. She asks him why he is not using a dropper. Kay hesitates, recalling the entry exam, and admits that he doesn't have one. He explains they are too expensive and that he feels fine fighting without one, leaving Ellie staring in disbelief. Gale is flabbergasted, shouting it makes no sense for a pioneer to have never used one. A dropper is an essential tool for pioneers used to infuse weapons with color energy to fight creatures. To properly hunt these monsters, one must color them using a dropper. The group looks at Kay standing over the defeated enemies, and they question how he managed to defeat them bare-handed without the essential tool. Gale's hand trembles as he grips his own weapon. Realizing the gap in their abilities, he recalls the humiliation of the exam. Realizing he couldn't even scratch someone who wasn't using a dropper, Gale grits his teeth in frustration. He glares at Kay's back, swearing to himself that he will crush Kay with his own hands one day. As they continue deeper into the cave, Red leads the way with a lantern, while Gale follows, seething with anger. Red glances back at his squad with a smirk, thinking it is not bad to see two geniuses being motivated by a rookie. He smiles, believing things are only going to get more interesting. After the battle against the shadow beasts, the carcasses of the wolf-like creatures lie scattered. Colorist Red calls for a 10-minute break, though he warns the group, Gale, Kay, and Ellie Cyan, that the real mission has not yet begun. Gale sigh, complaining he has used up a significant amount of his color energy. He pulls out a small bottle of glowing green liquid. As Gale drinks, Kay identifies it as personal ink. This is a specially refined alchemical ink, an essential but rare supply for pioneers that restores their color. Because it must be crafted to match the user's unique color, it is insanely expensive. Kay watches with envy as both Gale and Ellie drink their custom inks. Wishing he had the funds for such luxuries, Kay quickly dismisses the thought. Walking away from the group, he reaches his hand out toward a defeated shadow creature's corpse. A massive swirl of dark energy erupts from its body as Kay activates his ability, absorbing the shadow directly into his hand. The black energy flows into him. Kay clenches his fist, his energy fully restored, and announces his recovery is complete. He turns back to his teammates who are staring with horror and disbelief. Ellie hesitantly asks if he is sure he is okay. Kay waves off their concern, explaining he has done this a few times. Gale shouts in disbelief that Kay just absorbed a monster without flinching. Before they can continue, Red interrupts, declaring the break is over. The group travels deeper into the canyon until Red announces they have arrived. The team sees a massive swirling dome of pure black energy blocking their path. Kay stares, muttering that it looks like a black curtain. Red smiles at Kay's stunned expression and reveals that this dark barrier is the specific reason he brought Kay along. To demonstrate, Red summons a ball of red energy and unleashes a powerful beam at the black dome. The attack hits the surface, but instead of breaking through, the energy is instantly swallowed by the darkness. Red explains that if anyone tries to force the barrier open, weapon, it absorbs the power and becomes tougher. He notes that this is very similar to K's own ability, which is why he had a hunch that K would be the only one capable of erasing it. Red points toward the dark wall, revealing that the path to the ruins lies inside. He announces that within those ruins hides their true objective, the Stella fragment. K's eyes widen in shock. The other recruits are confused. Gale asks what Stella is, and Ellie admits she has never heard of it. Red assures them it exists, and that the Shining City is desperate to find it. He points a finger at K, ordering him to get rid of the curtain. K steps forward toward the towering wall of darkness. As he touches it, his absorption ability activates, and the barrier's black energy begins to flow violently into his hand. A massive vortex forms as the giant dome is funneled into decay. Red, Gale, and Ellie watch as the obstacle is devoured. Red watches with an amazed grin, delighted his theory was correct. As the barrier disappears, he tells K his power will be extremely useful. However, K looks unhappy, sweating and trembling as he struggles to contain the massive amount of energy he just absorbed. Suddenly, the ground shakes violently. Gale and Ellie panic as the tremors grow stronger, realizing the loud noise is sure to attract hordes of deadly creatures. The loud rumble caused by K's action echoes through the canyon. Suddenly, a horde of black wolf-like monsters emerges from the cliffs. The group finds themselves surrounded. Ellie and Gale draw their weapons while Red laughs that such a large crowd has gathered to welcome them. Red commands the rest of the team to handle the creatures, while K focuses on removing the curtain. With a cold expression, the team leader orders his squad to wipe out every monster. Gale and Ellie leap into action. Gale moves with incredible speed, slicing the shadow creatures with wind-infused attacks. Ellie unleashes her power, summoning massive ice spikes from the ground that impale multiple enemies. As the two recruits clash fiercely, Red observes them. He notes that he was prepared to step in, but there is no need. He effortlessly summons orbs of red energy and fires beams that pierce through the remaining beasts. Red thinks that although they are new recruits, their skill level is high enough. Meanwhile, K continues to absorb the massive barrier, sweating profusely. Red smiles, thinking how nice it is when his subordinates do the hard work. While Red stands guard, K struggles with the volatile energy. Kneeling on the ground, he notices the curtain's power feels strangely similar to his own, wondering if it's because they share the same black attribute. He realizes the danger. If he loses focus, the curtain's massive energy will reverse the flow and steal his color instead. K grits his teeth, refusing to be overpowered, and declares that he is the stronger one. With a final effort, the absorption completes. He stands on the path's edge, panting heavily, and confirms he has absorbed everything. He looks down at what was hidden behind the barrier and is shocked to see a massive pitch-black pit with no visible bottom. He wonders if this terrifying abyss is the entrance to the ruins. Having finished his task, he turns and calls out to the team leader, reporting the curtain has been successfully removed. With the barrier removed, Red praises K for a job well done. He calls out to the rest of the team, announcing the curtain is down and ordering them to finish cleaning up. Suddenly, Red's expression shifts to pure shock as he senses an immediate danger. Moving with blinding speed, he rushes forward and forcibly grabs both Ellie and Gale, pulling them back. An instant later, a massive invisible energy slice tears through the air, carving deep gouges into the ground where they had been standing. The attack is devastating, shredding the remaining shadow monsters. Debris rains down as Red, Ellie, and Gale land safely on a higher slope. Gale stares in horror, realizing he would have been killed instantly without Red's intervention. Red looks grim, sighing that the lack of resistance earlier was because something else was scaring the monsters away. He recalls a report that a dangerous entity was lurking nearby. Through the dust, a silhouette appears, walking toward them, dragging a massive sword. Red remarks that they are out of time to fool around. The attacker steps into the light. It is a man with spiky hair, white on one side and black on the other. Half of his face is consumed by a dark, mask-like growth, and he carries a collection of different weapons on his back. The stranger glares at the pioneers with a terrifying aura. Red stands between his team and the new threat, ordering Kay and the others to listen carefully. Red hurriedly shoves a lantern into Kay's hands, giving him a frantic order. He tells Kay and the others they must enter the ruins immediately and find the Stella fragment. Kay looks at the team leader with wide, anxious eyes. He asks if Red expects them to go down there by themselves. Red assures him that with their abilities, they are more than capable. However, Red doesn't wait for them to agree. With a sudden burst of force, he shoves Kay, Ellie, and Gale toward the dark abyss, shouting at them to stop whining and just go. Kay screams out the team leader name in panic as the three recruits plummet into the deep pit. Left alone, Red stands with his back to the drop, his red aura glowing. The voice of one of the recruits echoes from the deep, asking what they are supposed to do on their own. While the menacing silhouette of the armed stranger looms behind Red, the two powerful figures lock eyes in a tense standoff, and Red knows a difficult battle is about to begin. The scene shifts to the pitch-black bottom of the abyss. Kay lies motionless after the long fall. He groans in pain, clutching his head as he struggles to stand in the suffocating darkness. Remembering the lantern Red gave him, he activates it, wondering if he is inside the ruins. The light flares to life, illuminating the area. Kay's expression instantly shifts to one of absolute terror. He stands frozen in shock, asking himself what this place is. Instead of ancient stone ruins, the lantern illuminates the skeletal remains of massive modern skyscrapers and concrete debris, looking exactly like a destroyed modern city buried underground. Kay stared into the vast ruined expanse. Sweat beading on his brow, he said, "Incredible. I can't believe a place like this existed underground." Then a sharp voice cut through his awe, saying, "Stop whining, and let's head toward the glowing spot over there." Kay spotted his companions, holding his lantern aloft in relief, and said, "Oh, you guys, thank goodness. I thought I got separated alone." Ellie glanced coolly at Gale, saying, "We wandered around too, because of this guy." Gale snapped back defensively, saying, "What? You were just as lost." Gale surveyed the massive ruins with frustration and inquired, "Anyway, what is this place? It's bigger than I expected." He added, "To think we'd find an ancient civilization down here. Was it called the Stella fragment? How are we supposed to find it?" He threw his hands up. "We don't even know what it looks like." Kay agreed with him, and he get worried too. And he said to himself, "Well, you aren't wrong. If we search blindly, it will take forever." Then he remembered Nero, and he said, "If only Nero were here." At that moment, Kay was startled by a familiar sound. Nero, his cat-like companion, materialized from his shadow. Kay asked in a whisper, "Nero, how are you even here?" Ellie noticed them, her eyes widening slightly, and she inquired, "A creature?" Kay looked back nervously, unsure how to explain his unique companion. Then a confident idea struck him, and he said, "Hey, come here for a minute," he said, a grin forming. "I've got a way to find the Stella fragment easily." After that, he explained his plan to them. Gale looked skeptical, inquiring, "So basically, that little creature is going to lead us to the fragment?" Kay nodded confidently, saying, "Yeah, I'm sure it'll find it in no time." Gale scoffed, unconvinced. "Don't talk nonsense. If a rare creature like that existed, no way I wouldn't know." As Ellie held Nero, Kay sighed, annoyed, saying, "Forget it. It's faster just to show you. Nero, let's go. Let's show this idiot just how amazing you are." Nero zipped from Ellie's hands, spinning in the air and releasing a brilliant flash of guiding light. Gale and Ellie stared in shock. Then Nero led the way, illuminating his surroundings. Gale stammered, saying, "No way. A creature that follows people and has a special ability?" He watched the glowing creature float away, completely baffled. He added, "I've never even heard of something like that. Where did he even find it?" Kay followed Nero's light, and he said, "Nero says the stellar fragment is right here. You can feel it," as Nero chirped in confirmation. Kay gave a small, rare smile, saying, "I'm counting on you." Nero's eyes narrowed with determination in the darkness. Then Nero felt something, and he flew quickly in that direction. Kay inquired, "Did it find something?" When Key arrived, he wondered, "Over there, huh? How much deeper do we have to go?" Nero zipped ahead, leading them towards a dark, arched doorway set into a massive wall of ruins. Giles smirked at Kay's caution, inquiring, "What are you hesitating for? If you're scared, fall back." Kay shot back, annoyed, saying, "Who said I'm scared?" He added, "Then we're going in." The group steeled themselves and stepped through the doorway, entering a vast, sterile corridor lined with numbered doors. Ellie looked around the massive chamber in awe, saying, "It's more spacious than I expected." Kay also also inquired what was this place used for. But suddenly, Nero's light veered sharply toward another door. Kay smiled and said, more importantly, Nero turned in a new direction. It must have found something. Before they could react, a colossal metal foot slammed down in front of them with a deafening crash, shaking the entire chamber. Kay was shocked. While Kay trembled with fear, Giles' hand instinctively reached for his sword, and he said, "Yeah, it definitely found something," he said in shock as a massive automaton whirred to life. "What is this?" Kay stared at the steam-powered golem, inquiring, "A creature? No, it looks different." He yelled as it stood to its full, intimidating height, and a beam of light scanned Allie, then Gale, displaying hex codes. Kay realized what was happening, and he inquired, "Hex code scan? It's checking our colors?" Then the beam locked onto Kay, a bead of sweat tracing down his face. The scan returned a stark, ominous code, pure black. The golem's single eye glowed menacingly. A mechanical voice boned, detected the color of the Black Witch. Identified as a threat, beginning elimination. In a flash, the golem attacked. Ellie screamed, "Kay!" as Kay was blown back. He said angrily, "You little, are you insane? Attacking out of nowhere!" Kay slammed his fists on the ground in fury, saying, "Whatever you are, attacking first means you'd better be ready to get smashed!" He roared as his companions prepared for battle. He threw a punch, but his fist met unyielding metal. Kay felt some pain, and he said, "Why is it this tough? Seriously, what is this thing?" The golem raised its own massive fist, unfazed. Ellie and Gale unleashed their own powerful attacks, but the energy simply sparked and dissipated against the automaton's armored hide, leaving it completely unscathed. Ellie couldn't believe what had happened, and she said to herself, "Even using color power doesn't leave a scratch. Is it because it's not a creature? My power isn't working well?" But she realized something might be the weak point. It was that core. Kay also attacked it, but the golem relentlessly pressed its attack, forcing Kay back. Kay cursed under his breath, saying, "Damn it! Ordinary attacks don't affect me! What should I do?" But then he suddenly remembered his black power and said, "Perhaps if I use that power, the attack might succeed." But that power absorbs a lot of color, so Kay decided to gather it only in his hand. Black energy swirled around Kay's fist. With a furious roar, he drove it forward, smashing directly through the golem's chest in a devastating explosion of metal and power. The automaton's head clattered to the floor, its light extinguished. Kay stood over the wreckage, breathing heavily, saying, "That thing was more annoying than I expected." Spotting the machine's spherical core among the debris, Kay picked it up with a grin, saying, "Oh, is this the core? Mari will like this if I take it to her." Giles stomped over, furious, saying, "Kay, what was that power? If you could do that, why didn't you use it earlier?" Ellie also said in anger, "I thought your ability only absorbed things. Explain it properly." Kay just stared at Gale and asked, "How are you even demanding this?" As Kay began to explain, saying, "That technique drains color so badly I didn't want to use it." A heavy stone door behind them rumbled and slid open on its own. Everyone turned their gaze towards the door. The newly revealed passage was pitch black. Nero darted towards it, chirping excitedly, before stopping short at the threshold. The creature hovered nervously, letting out a frightened cry. Kay asked, peering into the oppressive darkness, "Nero, what's wrong? Is there something over there?" Cautiously, Kay approached the strange, rippling black veil in the doorway, saying, "I don't see anything." He wondered, is this like the curtain from before? Reaching out a hand. The moment his fingers touched the surface, dark tendrils erupted, grabbing him and his companions. They cried, "What? It's pulling us in!" They yelled in panic. Gale cursed as they were dragged into the void. "Damn it! Why'd you touch that?" Ellie cried out. "Everyone, be careful!" Their screams echoed as the portal consumed them. They landed in absolute darkness. Gale complained, saying, "Ugh, that hurts." "What now?" Ellie said. "It's so dark, I can't see anything." Kay's voice called out, "Is everyone okay?" Gale looked at his hands, then gasped in horror, his body trembling, inquiring, "What?" My color is gone." In the dim light, he and Ellie saw that they were both completely devoid of color, rendered in monochrome. Gale screamed in terror. "What the hell happened?"